I feel like every project, there's a beginning, there's a moment where you feel like this should exist. You're making the world a bit bigger. That's sort of like an inner level of inspiration where it's not necessarily that it makes you create or motivate you to create, but it makes you feel like you're in the right place. And that is, to me, like the most helpful thing I can feel when I am in like moments of uncertainty. When you really don't know where things are going and you're just exploring the unknown, like we were today, you know. Welcome in. So, my name is Vincent, and I'm a designer. And this is not my bedroom. It could also be cool to refilm the intro at the Plus, because then you're like, they were just in the woods by that building, and then now they're in this fucking basement or whatever it is. So my name is Vincent Laine, and I'm a designer. I make cameras sometimes. I make pink clouds sometimes. I make luggage sometimes. And kind of looping back to what we talked about just right now, it's because it feels important. Yeah, it falls under, you know, the category of designer in terms of making, but I think it's just more living, you know. Let's see if that stuff is showing. Either you look at it and you see objects, but for me, it's almost like chapters in life.
One of the most exciting things about him is that he's very curious. He's very wide-eyed, and you can see that in all of the pieces that he creates. He creates a universe for them. It's not just about the object, it's about the world that surrounds it. It's about the world that it's in. It affects the world that it's in. It has an effect on the space, it has an effect on the people that carry it or wear it or sit in it. And I think that is really interesting to see with him.
I feel like the way Vincent combines industrial design, utility, and style, and he's also be able to, you know, work in teams, to listen to people, to have a broader understanding of how, let's say, people in the field that is utilizing these tools, other than himself, he can be able to bring something together that actually translates to the real world.
That. If you look backwards now, it doesn't really make sense to go from, you know, working with cameras to luggage, then, you know, collectible furniture. I don't want to become a camera designer per se. I want to be a designer and creating not just things, but meaningful objects, and you know, realizing that also dreams change and that you're not loyal to making cameras or a certain type of products or objects. You're just loyal to yourself, you know? Falling into the trap of thinking that when I become an expert on something, that's when things are, you know, fun, or that's when things are easy, or whenever you go into a new product segment or category, you're almost like reintroduced to that product, and you're complete beginner in understanding. And so those questions of like, why is that like this? Why is it not like that? And like all those, say, stupid questions are actually the ones that bring out your perspective to that problem. When you didn't go into the design process, there is something quite universal in just like being very clear, and you focus on what really matters. That's why I started shooting, was basically just to understand how to become a photographer so I can actually make a camera. I didn't know much when I made that concept. This stuff here, That's how I got started. It's a fake Leica, and it almost got me sued. The full story is that I went to New York. I had just bought my first camera and I wanted to learn how to shoot. I went to New York and I ended up only using my iPhone. I basically came back and I thought, okay, if I would be able to design a camera or make a camera now with what I know and the frustration that I have, what would I do? I posted this on Behance. Funny enough, I got 2 answers. One from Apple and one from Leica. The one from Apple got me an interview. The second call was Leica, and we should sue you because you use the brand in a way that we obviously don't approve. The conversation led to sort of, but hey, the work is okay. No, it's actually pretty good. So looking back at this, I think it was so cool to have it in the book because it's kind of been an informal sort of thing. Inspiration for me is, like, oftentimes you get that question, right? Where I have this weird thing. It's really strange to talk about, but it's almost like flashbacks to a place I've never been to. And it feels like a place in the future somehow. And I tend to get these flashbacks when I'm working on something and it's heading in the right direction. And working on something where you get those moments and those flashbacks really gets you to a point where you start wondering, like, am I creating that future moment, right? And I think that's sort of like an inner level of inspiration where it's not necessarily that it makes you create or motivate you to create, but it makes you feel like you're in the right place. And that is, to me, like the most helpful thing I can feel when I am in like moments of uncertainty. When you really don't know where things are going and you're just exploring the unknown. That was really like, speaking of pack heavy chase light, you know, I went to Namibia to go shoot after a couple tough years, you know, and going there was really one of those decisions of like picking like hope over darkness, I guess. And I think, you know, literally as well, it was about shooting, and it was about chasing light. And I packed everything I had and I went there. And it was also during that period in time where I got in contact with DB and we sort of figured out the details. That slide deck that I created for Luggage, I named it Pack Heavy, Chase Light, and it was sort of a mantra for the project. Another kind of sidetrack to that was really that when you do switch from one category of one product to another, it's also very easy to think that, you know, I had to sort of adjust or remold in order to fit. For me, it was like such a freeing moment when I realized, like, I can actually apply the same rationale and thinking and also draw parallels from the cameras to Luggage.
His obvious talent when it comes to aesthetics, the balance between thinking about the user needs, but also the aesthetics, the sensitivity, the sensibility, and the forms. I think he blends those things perfectly. I think he has a really good understanding of how things are perceived and received. And I think that comes from just his understanding of human beings.
I feel like a lot of people can design something that looks good or works, but to be able to combine the actual utility, but also the style into it, where, you know, you have this design element that is triggering you visually, and then you actually start to use it and, you know, interact with it, and it's, you know, as it looks as good as it works. It's something that Vincent does very, very well.
We needed to start somewhere. I think it started with what can we put on the table. But a collaboration is an exploration. I explore working with you through your knowledge. Like the way we work together, it's every day it's just exploration. It's just beautiful because the fact that I really let go, because you designed this amazing sofa just through our communication and the way we've been having our friendship going on for like almost 3 years. And I feel like this is something that started even before we thought of it. And this is the result of this relationship that we've been having. Because now through this sofa that I've seen for like months now, I discover new things about this sofa every day. Because today, seeing the sofa in real life, I'm like, oh my God, it's not just your design and Jacques Cartier, it's also a vest. It's even more than a design that you did.
What really feels evident in the work right now is also my own personal creative contrast. You know, coming from industrial design where everything has to make sense, everything has to sort of communicate a sense of reason and logic, and it's supporting something that is fluid, immeasurable, completely out of my comfort zone to make a pink cloud on top of a steel structure. And I feel like it's also a coexistence between intuition and logic in a way. There is an aspect of almost surrendering to the fact that you're allowing for intuition to lead and really just be what it is.
When he designs it, it's for a purpose, but then when you meet it for the first time, the physical product, his imagination then ignites, and then he can see these other sort of different purposes for it. There's always this feeling when you create something physical and you've designed it, there's always this meeting when you see it physically for the first time. That's when you actually understand what you made. But I think Vincent has a really good understanding of all of this even before he receives it physically.
What have we done? What is this?
I think that's one of his greatest strengths, to see and to envision how his pieces can interact with the world.
And so even today, just being here, just seeing it is really scary. Wow, that's pretty sick. The logic and the intuition part, they're kind of questioning each other. The contrast is there even in my perception of the work, you know. I have to sit on it. It really does feel like sitting on a cloud. But to me, even still now, like seeing this structure, it's so impactful because of the scale. And for that, you go through all of this blood and sweat and tears, you know. Yeah, so the piece is called Unlikely Connection. And this whole thing is a formation of coexistence. What I mean by that is like bringing together two things that are basically never seen together. Like cold steel against warm, soft fabric. At some point you will sort of end up in a place where you just ask yourself, does this make sense? Do they actually find harmony together? Can they coexist? I think there is almost like a universal law to contrasts and opposing forces, or there is a sense of truth in contrast. And it's a mechanism or a force that I've been interested in for as long as I can remember. And once you bring two things closer together, there is a moment when they start to belong and where they start to coexist. And that's why the piece is called Unlikely Connection. And the exhibition where it's going is called Shapes of Belonging. So it's sort of answering to that as well as a theme, as a way of thinking, I guess. I feel like every project, there's a beginning, there's a moment where you feel like this should exist. But every time you create something that you feel should exist, you're making the world a bit bigger. It's almost like I don't really have a choice. I think like when you start to stack things up, like everything that you create, I wonder whether that is actually the articulation of why, and I will only know that when I'm about to die. You know, maybe it's the sequence of things. Maybe it's the sum of all parts together. I tattooed my leg when I was 19, and it has the word känslan, which means the feeling, basically. I kind of use it as like just a way to say intuition, basically. Like very early on, I kind of felt like that was the thing that I needed to listen to, because not a lot of other things will probably make sense. That's always been my sort of compass. But the reason why the compass is pointing in one direction or the other, I have no fucking clue, man. I cannot intellectualize, rationalize, or articulate. Like, I can't even dream of articulating exactly why that, you know, happened. And I think that's the why in itself. Like, I think that's the magic that I can't, you know.